So welcome to Bhakti Steps. We will start with the prayers which are on my screen. You can repeat with me. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurannilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Sopadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shiptavadaganam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरंगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु वैवच पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So welcome to Bhakti Steps. We'll continue from Science of Self-Realization. We were somewhere we completed. Then the tiny world of modern science. Yeah, this is what we were discussing. This we discussed. Yeah. Yeah, we discussed this post-dated check. And I think Dr. Frog's philosophy. Dr. Frog's philosophy also we discussed. Ascending, descending. Okay, I think we were here. Okay. so Prabhuji, will you read Srila Prabhupada? I will read Dr. Singh.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So let's start. Dr. Singh. So there is an ascending process of gaining knowledge and a descending process.
Yes, the ascending process will never be successful because it relies on information gathered through the senses, and the senses are imperfect. So we accept the descending process. God cannot be known by the inductive process. Therefore, he is called adokshaja, which means unknowable by direct perception. The scientists say there is no God because they are trying to understand by direct perception. But he is adokshaja. Therefore, the scientists are ignorant of God because they are missing the method of knowing him. In order to understand transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master, hear from him submissively, and render service to him. Lord Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya.
So here the classic ascending, descending, inductive, deductive process is explained. Inductive means by our own effort. Deductive means if a higher energy tells us that knowledge, then we accept it.
Mm.
Just like mother will tell, this is your father, and the child will accept it. Okay. Um, and otherwise, one can go on doing DNA testing of all the men in the world, right?
Yeah.
And he may not find it because by the time he finishes, who knows, the person will live or not live, or he went away somewhere. So it's difficult. Inductive process is very difficult. So this knowledge, inductive and deductive, is very specific to knowledge about God. Okay, we need to understand that this inductive process and deductive process, this is the epistemology. It's called epistemology. This is the Vedic epistemology, meaning how to gain knowledge in Vedic culture. That is what is meaning of Vedic epistemology. What is modern science epistemology? Huh?
Experimentation.
Yeah, how to gain knowledge? Experimentation. Good. That is the inductive process. This is deductive process. Now I want to tell you something. Is inductive process always wrong?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. See, the whole modern science is working, right? It's not that it's not working. It is working. Our whole mobiles,
Mhm.
everything is dependent on that. So it's working. But then what is this argument of deductive? So the argument of deductive is only applicable to absolute truth. So, yeah. So this deductive knowledge is only for gaining knowledge about absolute truth. Okay, so deductive knowledge is the only one that works for gaining knowledge about the absolute truth, about God, okay, about
Okay.
spirituality. But if we consider material science, we don't necessarily sometimes need deductive. Inductive is fine. Like today, whole scientific circle is all about inductive, right?
Yeah.
So they will teach deductively, that's fine. But all the gain, the knowledge, the research, everything is inductive, and which is working. So therefore, modern scientists they say, okay, if you want to know about God, then we also will apply the inductive process. But Vedic science says that this inductive process, there are technical names for it, pratyaksha and anuman. Pratyaksha is through our senses, anuman is through in through some inference or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay. And deductive is shabda praman. Hmm? So through pratyaksha can we know absolute truth. Through anuman can we know the complete absolute truth. To some extent only, not to the full extent. See, pratyaksha means what? Okay, I I see that somebody made a car, right? That somebody made an aeroplane, right?
Yeah. So proof is there. We can see.
So for anything, there has to be a maker. So I made an anuman. So for this world, for our beings, there can be a maker. So again, we are using inductive process only, right? But
Yeah.
who is that name maker? If I ask you this question, who is that maker? Can you give me an answer from pratyaksha? No. Can you give me anuman? Anuman is speculation, kind of inference. So something you can say, but you can say, oh, he's like energy, he's
Yeah.
like very
Guesstimate,
powerful.
guesswork, and then try to prove it.
No, we cannot say complete thing about the person, right?
Yeah.
Like let's say you take any famous person, Sachin Tendulkar, Gandhi, Nehru, or anything. There can be a inductive process. Those who see him, but those people who are with him and they have lived with him, they can tell much more details about that person, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that is deductive process. Inductive process is, well, far away, even if we see him, we make some statements and all that. We may listen to somebody and we may make some anuman. But in case of Shabda, it will be one who has lived with that person, then that knowledge is even more perfect. Getting?
Yeah.
So Vedic epistemology says by Pratyaksha and Anuman, you can come to some understanding of God, not the complete understanding. You can only come complete understanding by Shabda Praman. What is Shabda? Shabda, as the said, the very word Shabda means what? It means a word.
Word.
It means someone has to speak it, right?
Yeah.
So Vedic epistemology says that the absolute truth is a person. He himself speaks about him. He himself speaks about himself. So he gives the knowledge to the first being. Huh? Krishna says in fourth chapter, I gave this knowledge to. We have read this now. I'll just show quickly. See, I instructed this knowledge to sun
No,
god
no.
Vivaswan, to Manu, Manu to
Mm.
Ikshvaku, and like that it has come. Now I am giving it to you, Arjuna. Right?
Yeah.
So he is saying, I instructed. This is very important. He himself comes and he himself gives. One more praman. The very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवये मुयंति ही यत सूर्य. In Brahmaji's Hridaya, I sang this whole knowledge. Hmm? In his heart, I gave this whole knowledge. So he is giving. That is the premise of Vedic epistemology. That the absolute person will take the responsibility of giving knowledge about himself and the world and everything. Therefore, when one wants to learn about the absolute truth, only Shabda Praman will work. Pratyaksha and Anuman is later. So once we hear about Shabda, that is the Vedic knowledge, and we follow the Vedic knowledge, then when we follow the Vedic knowledge, this is very interesting. Okay, we follow Vedic principles, whatever Vedic rules, principles, culture, lifestyle. Then we use Pratyaksha and Anumana to see the effect and to feel the effect of it. Right? Like you can say, I did this yagya, I followed this rules, regulation, and I can feel something, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can feel, I can experience. So that is Pratyaksha. That is Anumana. So it is not like Pratyaksha and Anumana kicked out. No. In regards to absolute knowledge, only Shabda. And when one we follows Vedic knowledge, by using Pratyaksha and Anuman, we can perfect that understanding, we can experience that understanding of Vedic knowledge. So it is like this.
Yep. Got it, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Good.
And Shabda here is through Krishna, and Krishna gave it to, like he says, I gave it to Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku gave it to Manu, Manu gave it to his son, and his son gave it to one Rishi Muni, Rishi Muni, then one, then these are lines of spiritual master. So you learn from the spiritual master, and Krishna says you should serve the spiritual master and ask relevant questions, not absurd questions, not challenging questions, but relevant questions. You can definitely argue, but argue in a mood of understanding, not in a mood of showing other person down. Okay, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
There is a scientific journal called Nature. It contains articles concerning natural products like animals and plants, but it does not mention God, only nature.
We may correctly observe that plants are being produced by nature, but we must ask, what has produced nature? To ask this question is intelligence.
Like Newton, he got inspiration of his famous laws when the apple fell down, right?
Yeah.
But nobody asked this question, who made the apple fall? That is what Vedic knowledge also says, who made it?
Hmm.
The scientists don't think about it. Read. So there are fools as soon as we speak of nature.
So they are fools. As soon as we speak of nature, the next question should be whose nature? For instance, I speak of my nature and you speak of your nature. Therefore, as soon as nature is mentioned, the next inquiry should be whose nature? Nature
Yeah.
means energy, and as soon as you speak of energy, you must accept that there is a source of that energy. For example, the source of electric energy is the electric powerhouse. Electricity is not produced automatically. We must install a powerhouse and a generator. Similarly, in the Vedas, it is said that material nature is working under Krishna's direction.
Right. See, when we cook, the energy comes from the fire, right? So we know the source of the energy, the fire, the LPG gas, and all that, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, electricity, we know it is the electricity, electric current coming from the power plant, like that. So, do you mean to say that science has started from an intermediate point, not from original point?
Yes, that is it. Exactly. They are ignorant of the origin. The scientists start from one point, but where does that point come from? That they do not know, in spite of vast research. One has to accept that the original source is God, who is full of all mystic powers and from whom everything emanates. He himself says in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Our conclusions are not based on blind faith. They are most scientific. Matter comes from life. In life, in the origin, there are unlimited material resources, and that is the great mystery of creation. Modern scientific research is just like Sankhya philosophy, which analyzes material elements. Sankhya means to count. We are also Sankhya philosophers to some extent because we count and analyze the material elements. This is land, this is water, this is air, this is sunshine, this is fire. Furthermore, I can count my mind, my intelligence, and my ego. Beyond my ego, however, I cannot count. But Krishna says that there is existence beyond the ego, and that existence is the living force, the spirit soul. This is what the scientists do not know. They think that life is merely a combination of material elements, but Krishna denies this in the Bhagavad Gita 7.5. Apareyam itastva anyam prakritim vidime param. Besides this inferior nature, there is a superior energy of mind. The inferior energy is the material elements, and the superior energy is the living entity. Bhumir apo analo vayuhu kham mano buddhir evacha ahankara itiyam me binna prakriti ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, all together, these eight comprise my separated material energies. Bhagavad Gita 7.4, Krishna explains here in the Bhagavad Gita that Vayu, gas, comes from him, and that finer than the gases is come, ether. Finer than ether is the mind, finer than the mind is intelligence, and finer than the intelligence is the soul. But the scientists do not know this. They can perceive only gross things. They mention Vayu, but where does the Vayu come from? Where does the gas come from?
That they cannot answer.
But we can answer. We have the knowledge that comes from kham or ether, and ether comes from mind, and mind comes from intelligence, and intelligence comes from Krishna's superior energy, the spirit soul.
Are both inferior and superior energy studied in Sankhya philosophy?
No, Sankhya philosophies do not know of superior energy. They simply analyze the material elements just as the scientists do. Neither the scientists nor the Sankhya philosophers know anything of the spirit soul. They are simply analyzing Krishna's material energy.
They are analyzing creative material elements.
Material elements are not creative. The soul is creative. No one can create life with only matter, and matter cannot create itself. You, a living entity, can mix hydrogen and oxygen to create water, but matter itself has no creative energy. If you place a bottle of hydrogen near a bottle of oxygen, will they automatically combine without your help?
No, they must be mixed.
Yes, the superior energy, the living entity, is required. Oxygen and hydrogen are inferior energy, but when the superior energy mixes them, then they become water. Inferior energy has no power unless superior energy is involved. This sea, indicating the Pacific Ocean, is calm and quiet, but when superior force, air, pushes it, high waves are created. The sea has no power without the superior force. Similarly, there is another force superior to the air, and another, until we arrive at Krishna, the most superior force. This is real research. Suppose a railroad train is just starting to move. The engine pushes one car, which pushes another, and so on, until the entire train is moving. The, the whole motion originates with the engineer, a living entity. Similarly, in the cosmic creation, Krishna gives the first push, and then by means of many successive pushes, the entire cosmic manifestation comes into being. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Maya dakshena prakritihi suyate sa characharam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and is producing all moving and unmoving beings. And a little later, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Murtayah Sambhavantiyaha Tasam Brahma Mahad Yonir Aham Bija Pradapita. All species of life are made possible by birth in material nature, and I am the seed giving father. Bhagavad Gita 14.4. For example, if you sow a banyan seed, a huge tree eventually grows up and produces millions of new seeds. Each of these seeds in turn produces another tree with millions of new seeds and so on. So Krishna is the original seed giving father. Unfortunately, the scientists only observe the immediate cause. They do not perceive the remote cause. There are two causes, the immediate cause and the remote cause. Krishna is described in the Vedas as Sarvakarana Karanam, the cause of all causes. If you understand the cause of all causes, then you understand everything. Kasminnu bhagavo vignate sarvam idam vignatam bhavati. If you know the original cause, the later subordinate causes are automatically known. Although the scientists are searching after the original cause, when the Vedas, which contain perfect knowledge, give the original cause, they don't accept. They keep their partial imperfect knowledge.
Scientists are worried about the energy sources, and now they are working to utilize solar energy for cooking, lighting, and various other purposes. They are hoping that when they exhaust all other energy sources, they will be able to use solar energy.
This is not a very new theory. Everyone knows that because the roots of trees store the sun's energy, it is possible to get fire from a tree. These scientists are tiny creatures, but they are very proud. We don't give them credit because they are simply stating what everyone knows. As soon as you cut a tree, you cannot get fire from it. It has to be dried in the sun. When the energy is gathered from the sun, the tree can be utilized for fire. Actually, everything is being maintained by the sun's energy, but the scientists don't know where the sun's energy comes from. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.12, Krishna says, Yad Aditya Gatam Tejo Jagad Basayate Akhilam Yat Chandramashi Yat Chagnav Tat Tejo Vidim Mamakam. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. And Krishna says, Jyotisham Ravir Amshuman. Oh, lights, I am the radiant sun. Bhagavad Gita 10.21. Also, in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna tells Krishna, Shashi Surya Netram. The sun and the moon are among your great unlimited eyes. This knowledge is contained in the Bhagavad Gita, but scientists cannot attain this knowledge by their speculation. Can they?
It is not possible.
And what is their knowledge? The scriptures say that even if you counted all the grains of sand on earth, you still would not be able to understand God. All this material counting does not mean that you have the capacity to understand the unlimited, but is even beyond their capacity to count all the material things. Why are the scientists so proud of their energy and capacities? They do not even know of the material things and what to speak of the spiritual. As far as scientists and other living entities are concerned, their knowledge is limited. But this is not so for Krishna. If we receive knowledge from Krishna, that knowledge is perfect. In the scriptures, we receive information that there are 900,000 species of life existing within the ocean. The information given in the scriptures is exact because it comes from Krishna, and as Krishna himself says, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. Bhagavad Gita 7:26.
We have to take knowledge from the supreme knower.
For perfect knowledge, we have to approach a superior person, a guru. One may try to learn a subject by reading books at home, but he can learn much better by going to college and approaching a professor. In the same way, we have to approach a guru. Of course, if we encounter a false guru, our knowledge is false. But if our guru is perfect, our knowledge is perfect. We accept Krishna as our guru. If he is perfect in knowledge, our knowledge is also perfect. As far as we are concerned, we do not have to be perfect in ourselves, but if we receive the knowledge from the perfect, our knowledge is perfect. We cannot say that we understand that there are 900,000 species of life in the ocean because we have studied the entire ocean. Rather, we say that we take this information from scriptures and therefore it is perfect. This is the Vedic process. Scientists may carry out much research work, but however great a scientist may be, his senses are imperfect. Therefore, he cannot have perfect knowledge. What is the value of our eyes? We cannot see without sunlight, nor can we see small things without a microscope. Our eyes are imperfect, and the instruments our eyes have discovered are also imperfect. How then is it possible to get perfect knowledge? Because the living entity is limited, his knowledge is limited. A child may know that 2 plus 2 equals 4, but when he speaks of higher mathematics, we do not take him seriously. The senses through which a scientist acquires knowledge are limited and imperfect. Therefore, his knowledge is limited and imperfect. In his ignorance, he may claim to know everything, but that is simply nonsense. A blind man may lead another blind man, but what does it avail them when they both fall into a ditch? The laws of nature bind us hand and foot, yet we think we are free to speculate. This is illusion. Although conditioned by so many of nature's laws, the rascals think they are free. Yet, if there is a cloud, they cannot see the sun. What power have we to see? Only when nature's laws give us some facility are we able to see. Indeed, we can only experiment under certain conditions, and if the conditions are not favorable, our experiments fail. Why then are we so proud of experimental knowledge? Why experiment? Things are already there. The sun's energy is there, given by God for us to use. What else is there to know? So many apples fall from the trees. What further need is there to explain the law of gravity? Actually, the scientists are lacking in common sense. They are simply concerned with scientific explanations. They say the law of gravity works only under certain conditions, but who has made these conditions? When Krishna appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he threw stones on the water and the stones floated. The law of gravity did not work in that case. Therefore, the law of gravity works only under the direction of the Supreme Lord. The law in itself is not final. A king may give a law, but he can change that law immediately. The ultimate lawgiver is Krishna, and a law will only work by his will. Scientists try to explain God's will in so many ways, but because they are conditioned by Maya, illusion, they can only talk like a person haunted by ghosts. Tell me, what is the scientific explanation that accounts for all the varieties of trees?
Any question till this point? Because very straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's all about challenging the scientists and their imperfect senses, and whatever that's further created is all imperfect as well.
Yeah. Any questions, or we can go ahead?
I think we can go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay. They
I
say
can
that.
read Prabhu.
Huh? Sorry.
I can read Prabhuji.
Okay. So you read what Srila Prabhupada is saying. I will read Karandar Das. Okay.
Okay.
They say that nature mutates and make these varieties.
Then it must be nature's will. And what is that will? Does the land have any will?
Well, they are very vague on that point.
That means that they don't have perfect knowledge. They don't know that behind nature is the will of Krishna.
They explain that the chemical composition of these different plants is different.
That's all right, but who made these chemical compositions? As soon as we say chemical composition, you immediately require a god.
They say there is no God because if you mix two chemicals together,
God or not, there must be some will, there must be some consciousness. Two chemicals mix and produce such and such. Who mixes them? Consciousness is there. Well, that is consciousness is Krishna. That consciousness everywhere. As soon as we accept that consciousness, we must accept consciousness as a person. Therefore, we speak of Krishna consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita is stated that consciousness is all pervading. You may have consciousness, but I may have consciousness. And I may have consciousness, but there is another consciousness which is all pervading. My consciousness is limited to my body, and your consciousness is limited to your body, to yours. But there is another consciousness which is within you, me, and everyone. That is Krishna consciousness.
go ahead.
Actually, everything in the world is relative. That is a scientific fact. Our bodies, lives, intelligence, and everything else are all relative. To us, and to us, an ant may seem to have a very short life, but for the ant, his life is about 100 years in duration. That 100 years is relative to the body. Similarly, Brahma, who lives fantastically long from our point of view, only lives 100 years from his point of view. That is relatively.
Then the relativity is based upon our individual situation.
Yes, therefore it is said that what is food for one is the poison for another. People are thinking that because they cannot survive on the moon, no other living entities can. Everyone thinks of things in the relative way. In this, in his own terms, that is the meaning of frog philosophy. The frog is always thinking of things in his related to his well has, and he has no power to conceive of the Atlantic Ocean, because in his well is his own experience, is his only experience. God is great, but we are thinking of God's greatness in our own terms, in terms of relative greatness. Some insects are born at night, and they grow at night and have their children at night and die at night. They never see the sun. Therefore, they then conclude that there is no such things as they. If you ask the insect about the morning, he would say there cannot be any morning. Similarly, when people hear of Brahma's long duration of life from scripture, they do not believe it. They say, how can anyone live for such a long time? In Bhagavad Gita 8.17, Krishna says, Shastra Yoga
Sahasra
Paryantam
Yuga Paryantam
Ahar
Aharyad Brahmano Viduhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasranam Te
Te
Oho Ratri Vidu
Surajana.
Jana.
By human calculation, the 1,000 ages taken together in the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Thus, Brahma, by these calculation, lives for many millions and trillions of years. We cannot believe this. Although evidence is given in the scriptures, in other words, we conclude that Krishna talks nonsensically while we speak as authorities. Even great scholars say that these scriptural statements are all mental speculation. Although these men are nothing but rascals, they pass for reputable scholars. They place themselves above God's position by attempting to refute or deny the statement of God's in revealed scriptures. In this way, so many fools in the guise of scholar, scientist, and philosopher are misguiding the whole world.
Hmm. So we read the lifespan of Brahma, right? So I'll just show you uh, get here. Vision Cosmos. Let's see. Yeah, Brahma's one lifespan. Okay. Have you seen this anytime? Hmm? So this is one Divya Yuga, which is 4 yugas of 4 yuga, right? Right now we are in Kali Yuga. 4 lakh 32 years. Double of that is Dwapar. Double of Dwapar is Treta. Double of Treta is Satyug. So like this, 4.32 million years is one Divya Yuga. And
Double
like
of
this,
Dwapar is Satya, right, Prabhuji? It is like add another Kalyug to Dwapar, that becomes Treta.
no, no, double of this will become this, no? Right? It's like that, right? We can check.
But don't look like that, Prabhuji. It's just Dwapar plus Kalyuga is equal to Treta.
Okay, okay, we'll check.
Double of Dwapar is Satya. His
160.
numbers written there look like that.
No, this one is double of this. That is there.
That is correct.
Okay,
Double
double
of
of
Kali
this.
is double of Kali is Dwapar. Add another Kali to Dwapar becomes Treta.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Add another to Treta becomes Satya.
Hmm. Okay, okay, okay. So, so technically, Satya is how many Kali Yugas?
Three Kali Yugas. Four actually.
Four, na?
Four Kali Yugas. Four.
Four Kali Yugas. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so it's a pretty long time, and we have just passed something like 5,000 years only.
Yeah.
1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh. Oof, I just cannot imagine. But anyway, we have lived such yugas, okay? So this is one Divya Yug. And like this 71 Divya Yugs, there is one Manvantara. So there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. 14 Manus. You know, these are ones who populate the earth. Now, earth is not just this earth planet, but outer earth and all that. Okay, even the planet system, 14 planet system, so they will populate all that. That is their business. The main task of Manus are to populate the world. So they will live for 71 Divya Yugas. Then another Manu will come. Like this, we are in the seventh Manu or something. So you must have heard the word Swayambhu Manu and all that. So Swayambhu Manu is here somewhere, first one.
Okay.
So like this is 14 Manvantaras. 14 Manus come in the day of Brahma. And then there is equal amount of night where he sleeps, and then there is no creation at all. Okay. So that is one day of Brahma. And like this, he has 100 years,
100.
365 days. So total is, according to our years, he is living 313.04
trillion.
trillion years. That is 36,000 kalpas. So every night he sleeps, then gets up in the morning, creates, sends forth 14 manus to populate. Many avatars come and go in this 14 manus. Then night he sleeps, everything gets destroyed. This partial devastation. And there is full devastation at the end of his 100 year. So it is said that Brahma's age as of today is 51. So he's in the mid. So you can see how long Brahma lives. Sahastra Yoga Paryantam. Krishna says that. So we are going through many days of Brahma, okay? And today we have come to Krishna consciousness. So we are planning to end this cycle of birth and death again and again and again and again and again, right? We want to reach the spiritual world. No more going into the cycle of birth and death and all that. We want to reach Golok Vrindavan. Okay. Of course, so much is written about Darwin theory. In any library, there are hundreds of books on these theories.
Do they accept or reject them?
Generally, they accept, but there are some who are very critical.
Darwin speaks about the evolution of the species of life, but he has no real information about spiritual evolution. He knows nothing about the progress of the spirit soul from forms of life to higher forms. He claims that the man has evolved from monkeys, but he can see the monkey is not extinct. If the monkey is the immediate forefather of the man, why is the monkey still existing?
Oh, this is a very nice argument, right? How can a forefather live with the present generation, right?
Yeah.
Very nice argument. It's a very simple argument which can defeat the Darwin theory. So, Darwin thought about evolution, but he thought about evolution of the body. But Vedic knowledge says about the same evolution, but it says that the body doesn't go evolution, the spirit soul evolutes from one body to another. Darwin says that the species are not created independently but are descended from one another.
If there is no question of independence, how can we abruptly begin with a certain species? He must explain how the original species came into existence.
Scientists claim that the earth was created by biological chemistry, and they refuse to teach that that God created the earth, because they think everyone will consider them fools.
If their biology and chemistry are so advanced, why don't they create something? They claim they may be able to create life in the future, but why in the future? Life is already created in science based on the future. Is science based on the future? We should trust no further, however pleasant we may think it will be. Everyone is thinking the future will be very pleasant. But what assurance do you have of this? They have to accept that they don't know what the truth actually is. They cannot even produce a sphere of grass, though they are biological and or chemical experiment. Nonetheless, they are claiming that the creation is produced by some chemical and biological method. Why does no one question all this nonsense?
Okay. See, one of the questions the Prabhupada always asks is, can they create life? Right? Why don't they create something? Right? This is a very important question. Why don't they create something? They cannot create something out of nothing. They can transform something out of into another thing. On their own, they cannot create anything, right? They can use two metals, get third metal. But can they create the metals itself first? No. Now we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence. You know about this word, AI, artificial intelligence? Huh?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT, right? Is Chat GPT doing everything on its own? Hmm?
Oh, there's a
No.
source always.
Yeah, see, this is what they do. They'll first get the data, then they will prepare, they'll do modification of the data, then they will train the models, test the data, and keep improving it, feeding it. So, where do they get the data? Human beings have written so many books now, so that is the data. So, Chat GPT doesn't work on its own. It takes the data from the human beings, studies it, and produces results out of it. But did it do on its own? No. Right? So, even with ChatGPT, it's not like godlike situation where they knew everything on its own. No. If this data itself is wrong, will the ChatGPT be right? Tell me. If the data itself is wrong, will the ChatGPT be right?
No.
Yes, that's true. So there are many such things that many mistakes in ChatGPT and all that is there because the data itself is wrong. If you give the wrong books, then ChatGPT will not question. It will just eat it and it will produce wrong results for us. Okay. In the ultimate analysis, when they consider the origin of life, they say everything started from matter. In other words, living matter comes from non-living matter. Living things come from non-living things.
From where is this living matter coming now? Did it come from non-living matter in the past or not at the present? How is the ant coming? Is it materializing from dirt? Even an ant does not come from inert matter. What proof do they have to such a theory? Darwin claims that in the distant past, no really intelligent man existed. That man simply evolved from the a- apes,
Apes.
and they are no intelligent brain in the past. How is it that these Vedic scriptures were written thousands and thousands of years ago? How do they explain a sage like Vyasadeva?
They have no explanation. They simply say that these are unknown forest sages.
Vyasadeva may be unknown to them, but nonetheless, he was there. How is it he got such a brain? He may be unknown to you or to me, but nonetheless, his brain work is there. His philosophy is there. His language, linguistics, poetic arrangements, and verbal strength. You may not know the person, but you can understand the brain.
Weren't all the varieties of animals existing from the beginning?
Yes, stimulatious
Simultaneous.
simultaneous creation is verified by the Bhagavad Gita. All the varieties of animal and man, as well as demigods, are existing from the beginning, and the living entity wants. certain type of body, and the Krishna gives it to him because the desire thinks is the certain way. He associates with certain qualities of nature and matter. According to his association, he receives the particular type of body. The psychological force, the mind, thinking, feeling, willing, and determine the particular type of situation and the body of the living entity receives. The evolutionary process is there, but it is not an evolution of species. It is not that one species of life develops from another. For Krishna states, Bhuta Bhuta Gramha Sa Avyam Bhut
भूतग्राम स एवाव्यम भूत भूत्वा भूत्वा पर्लीयते रात्रि अगमे वसः पार्थ प्रभवन्ति अहर अगमे.
Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into the being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Bhagavad Gita 8.19. The evolution is the spiritual evolution of individual living entity through the various species of life. If one enters into the body of fish, he has to undergo the evolutionary process
Evolutionary.
evolutionary process step by step. If one is on the top of the stairs and somehow falls down, he again has to go up the evolutionary staircase step by step. Of course, the scientists are busy making so much of research and they cannot understand this. If you tell them they are going to be trees in the next life, they think that you are speaking nonsense. We can after all what can we learn by research? When the cause of all cause is known and everything knowable becomes known and nothing remains unknown, as the Veda states, kasmin new bhagavo
विज्ञाते सर्वमिदं विज्ञातं भवति.
bhavati. If we know that absolute truth, all other truths become known. But if we don't know the absolute truth, we are is in ignorance. Or one may be the official scientist or philosopher, but he may change everything and talk boldly if we only know anything. Prabhuji, can you read now? I'm tired.
Okay, okay.
Sure, Prabhu. Sure, Mataji. No problem. Uh, this contemporary civilization is so proud of its independence, but actually it is so much dependent on oil. If the oil supply is stopped, then what will these rascal scientists do? They cannot do anything. Let them try to manufacture oil in their test tubes, enough oil to run their civilization on. At present, there is a scarcity of water in India. What can the scientists do about this? They may know the chemical composition of water, but they cannot produce it when there is a great scarcity. They require the help of clouds, and all that is God's manipulation. Actually, they cannot do anything. They have gone to the moon, but for all their labor, they have simply taken away some dust and rocks. The rascal government exacts taxes and spends money unnecessarily. This is their intelligence. It is a state of asses, that's all. The politicians have no sympathy or compassion. They do not consider that the hard earned money is coming from the public and that they are spending it by shooting big rockets off to other planets. All they do is promise to bring back more dust. First, they may get a handful of dust, then they promise to bring back tons of dust. What is the meaning of all this? They believe that there may be life on Mars. They may believe or not believe. What is the gain? What we do know is that life is here. They know this, yet they are engaged in fighting and in killing life. Here is life. Here is a human being. Life is here, undoubtedly. But they are busy trying to destroy it with their big bombs. This is their scientific advancement.
They are very curious to know what is going on other planets.
That means that for their childish curiosity, they are spending so much money. They
Wait,
can spend
wait,
so
wait.
much.
See, today also we see many rich, super rich people, super rich, right? Whose richness is sometimes equal to the GDP of a small country. And what is their curiosity? They want to live in Mars or go to the moon again, right? We are
Yeah.
hearing this. And Prabhupada is saying this in the 1970s. Read.
Yeah. They can spend so much to satisfy their curiosity, but when So many poverty stricken countries ask them for help, they say there is no money. They are very proud to go to the moon, but why don't they take information how to go to Krishna's Goloka Vrindavan? If they go there, all their curiosity will be satisfied. They will learn that beyond this inferior energy, there is indeed a superior spiritual energy. This material energy cannot work independently. The spiritual energy has to join it. Material elements are not created for themselves. It is the soul that is creative. We may try to make something with matter, but matter does not create itself. Hydrogen and oxygen will come in contact only when moved by the superior energy. Only fools can expect the entire cosmic manifestation, which is only matter, to come into being automatically. We may have a nice car, but if there is no driver, what is its use? Unless a man knows how to work a machine, unless a man pushes a button, the machine does not work. Similarly, without the superior energy, the material energy cannot act. Behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is the direction of a superior energy. All this information is given in the scriptures, but still people will not believe it. Actually, everything is God's property, but people are claiming this property to be theirs or their countries. Now they are talking about the problem of overpopulation. But the fact is that God has supplied enough. Actually, there is enough land and enough food if it is properly used. People are artificially creating problems, and the scientists are helping them by giving them so many destructive devices.
Wait.
This,
See, this statement of Prabhupada is that there is actually no problem of overpopulation. If land is enough and properly used, food is enough and properly used, people will not have so many problems. What do you think of this statement? Do you agree with this statement? Do you have any issue or you want to comment on it?
that's totally correct, only, right? So we have made the boundaries, and some of them have bigger boundaries and a lot more natural resources, and they are holding on to it and not giving to others. Few other countries have much lesser, and they're struggling. And then we create the trade and between countries and all that, and then all these trade wars, tariff.
We can see, in even in Bangalore, if we just travel 1 hour north, south, east, west, there is so much of land, right? All this land can be utilized to produce food, isn't it? Previously it was like that. you know Bangalore was some small place, and all around Bangalore was, only farms, right? So people were producing that time also, but we have created big problems actually. Okay, go ahead.
They simply encourage the rascals and rogues who are trying to use up God's property. If you help a murderer or thief, you also become a criminal. Is that not so? There is so much trouble in the world because the scientists are helping all the thieves and rogues. Thus, they are all criminals. Stena eva shaha. One who does not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord is a thief. Our mission is to bring these rascals to their senses. Now, one must find out the means to do this. The rascals are suffering, but because they are sons of God, they should not suffer. They do not know that there is God or that there is happiness. They know nothing of bliss or of eternal life. They are carrying on so much research and living for 50, 60, or 70 years. After that, they do not know what is going to happen. They have no knowledge that life is eternal. Actually, their position is like that of an animal. An animal does not know what is after death, nor does he actually contemplate death. He does not know why he is here, nor does he know the value of life. Under the influence of Maya, the animal simply goes on eating, sleeping, defending, mating, and dying. That's all. People are endeavoring so hard, but for what purpose? They say that they are struggling so hard to make provisions for the next generation. But what are the provisions for? They cannot reply to that. This Krishna conscious movement is meant to give real purpose to life by establishing Krishna, God, as the center of everything. It is therefore to the scientist's benefit to understand this important movement. Hare Krishna.
So if somebody asks a devotee, why are you endeavoring so hard? What is that purpose? How will you explain? What will you explain?
Babu, what this this thing or the material efforts?
General question it is. You have to explain what you have to explain. Like, you have to answer this question. Why are you endeavoring so hard? What's your purpose?
before coming to Krishna consciousness, we were enduring so hard just to meet our daily needs in terms of living a more luxurious life. It was all about trying to be more and more luxurious and meeting the need demands of the family and the extended families. So after coming to Krishna consciousness, there's a huge shift, right? What we have is more than enough to live our life for the amount of life we live, right? So I mean, simple for a simple living. So the endeavoring now is to know that we are here for a particular purpose and we are the servants of God and we are supposed to serve Him. And that was the reason why we are here, because we wanted to be away from Him. We have come down here to the material world.
Okay.
And now, only by serving the Lord, we can, if not this lifetime, at least some lifetime, if we continue to serve the Lord, we'll go back to His abode.
Okay. Any more explanation? Any more explanation? How will you support it with a Shastric example? Hmm?
Any hints, Prabhuji?
I am going to the Hindu.
Yeah, so many of the stories are there, right? So
This
who
is
got
a
deployed?
Ratsyu Yagya that Yudhishthir Maharaj did. Okay? Ratsyu Yagya. Now to Ratsyu Yagya, you have to defeat many kings. You have to bring gold from faraway places. You have to build big palaces. Feed 100,000 brahmanas per day. Like this for many days. So it's a huge effort. This Ratsyu Yagya is a huge effort. At the end of the Ratsyu Yagya, what did Yudhishthir Maharaj did? Does anyone know? So much effort he did. But at the end, there is a very important thing he did.
I don't know, Prabhuji.
Oh, you don't know? Okay. Just a minute. I'll go to the right picture. Is this the one? There's one more picture. Yeah, these two. Okay. So at the end of the Ratsyu Yagya, the superior person among those who have come should be worshipped. And he put Krishna to be worshipped there. There was Vyasadev, there were so many people, there was Narad Muni and all that. But Yudhishthir Maharaj put Krishna there. Seeing this, Shishupal got angry and he started saying wrong things about Krishna. And then Krishna took his Sudarshan Chakra, cut his head off. So, my point is, Yudhishthir Maharaj did such work so hard for this Ratsyu Yagya, ultimately to give all the credit to Krishna. Ultimately, for all the credit to give to Krishna to be glorified. Same way, we are endeavoring so hard. Ultimately, we want to serve Krishna with all our resources. Right? That's what you were
Yes,
telling.
yes, Prabhuji.
We will serve Krishna ultimately. We will live a simple life, a life where simplicity is defined by our own lifestyle, because many people have different lifestyles. We may not be able to live like villagers, so but we may simplify that life. We may not extravagance and all that. And after and while doing that, we will serve Krishna's movement. We will serve Krishna's purpose here. He came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread the holy name. We will take part in that movement, and we'll also spread the holy name. So that is our answer.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yep, that's the important aspect I missed.
No, you said whatever you said. I just reframed it in short sentence. Okay, so we have completed sixth chapter. Next tomorrow we'll do seventh chapter. Any questions or comments before we close? Any questions or comments?
Nothing from my side, Prabhuji.
Nothing, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. So